kinda helps me understand what I'm looking for a little bit better. However, I am still kind of clueless with a step in the right direction. Also, if we have this. Just grab this just in case. But if we get the classrooms again, we now have the ability to have 9 classrooms. So I think we try to do that again. Tomb, hovel, and 2 special items. Do I need special items? I don't care about the hovel, honestly. I feel like the hovel is just weird and I don't understand how to use it. Let's go with the items. Yeah, metal detector and battery pack right off the bat. That seems pretty good. Seems pretty good. So we're still trying to find the clock tower. Maybe I should not focus on the music room as much because I don't remember if we got the key out of it or not. I'm gonna go with the den. The den leads to a few items. Some more doors to explore. Easy bacon and eggs room with the key. Just going through the house like normal. Gonna get some gems instead of some dice. Although I do love the dice. Gems are just more valuable. The other 2 boxes are true. This box does not contain the gems. This box contains the gems. So obviously that can't be true. Obviously that cannot be true. So this box does not contain the gems. This box does contain the gems. Is that how I'm supposed to read it? No. Also no. So if the blue is false, this is true, so this has to be a false. So the gems have to be in this box. Oh. An instant nursery. Okay. Get some steps. And a banana. I do not like this for my house layout, though. This is not that great. But I'm sad if I keep on finding bedrooms. See what we get here. Maybe a hallway to go up. Oh, that's a new room. That is a new room. We got the tunnel. The heck? Apparently there's a coin here. Oh. It's a dig spot. Why does it look like it goes to the aquarium door? I am so confused. Can I just keep on drafting tunnels? What is going on? Okay. The attic. So the tunnel keeps on letting you build a tunnel. I could just go with items. The tunnel to the attic. They got a tunnel underground and gonna go straight to the attic. You skip the 2nd floor all together. I kind of want the items. I kind of want to take the tunnel straight to the foundation, though. Be stupid and weird, but I kind of want to do it. Also, items. Always draft tunnels when drafting this room. Oh, if I just read what it does. I didn't have to assume anything. What does that even mean? What's the point? Kind of wish I didn't put it in my house, honestly. I'm gonna go with the attic. I like the idea of tunneling to an attic. It's kind of silly. Get a bunch of keys. And a coin purse. Oh, and a broken lever. Ooh. That might be helpful. Some gems. Ooh, and a treasure map. Which we don't have a shovel for. Sad. Alright, so now we have a lot riding on these last rooms over here. Who made a tunnel in my house? Walk in from the entrance hall. Who made this tunnel in my house in my attic? Silly kids and their tunneling machines. Kinda lost what I was doing. Definitely not taking the showroom now. It's like asking for a dead end. The Curse of Black Bridge. Ooh. Ooh. This is like actually a... This is actually a book. This is actually a book. Alright, well, I guess it's time to get my reading on. The legend of a black bridge is one that's well known to the people of the Grand Realm. For versions of this tale have been passed down from generation to generation. With each new telling, the story has changed, becoming over the years more colorful, more verbose, and, as one might expect, increasingly horrifying. However, with so many renditions and unique personal touches, the task of confining and binding this tale to text seemed an ambitious and impossible challenge. Over the course of my research, I have heard dozens of variations of the legend, and while the details would often change, I was surprised how much of the story heart remained the same. Yet the more I listened, the clearer it became that there could never be a definitive version of the tale capable of capturing all the wonder and myth of a black bridge. In the end, I chose to write down what felt most authentic, the story my grandmother told me as a boy long ago. Part 1, The Berry Picker, from Oris. Many years ago, before peace had become a familiar word, there lived a group of rogues, so wayward that the locals deemed it appropriate to call their number the Unholy Hounds. They were feral outlaws composed of society's worst in a time when society was at its worst, and for each crime that fearful travelers credited to the group, a dozen more lay unclaimed, each worse than the last. For the gentry, however, who often valued their coffers more than their companions, no crime could measure more wicked than the group's primary enterprise, high road robbery. One such member of the so-called band of rogues was a boy of 13 years, Jasper, who had not been lucky in life, however lost 2 brothers to war and parents to famine. In the years of hunger that followed, Jasper lived in a gutter behind a churchyard, relying on the nourishment of scurrying bugs and weeds harvested from the cracks of alleyway to sustain his pitiful existence. It is not surprising that the child aiming to escape such hardships would take an easy road out. An easy and well-traveled road paved with temptations leading out to the city and into the gentry lands where loose purse strings entwined with the strands of salvation and glistened and glistening equality with the hope of opportunity. It was the road that eventually led Jasper to the end of his youth, a hidden cave at the bottom of Black Bridge Canyon. It was here that he met his surrogate family and saviors, the notorious gang of godless outlaws known as the Unholy Hounds. Despite the hardened circumstances that had led him to this vacation of banditry, Jasper was surprisingly tender-hearted and was often teased by the group for being too kind for such an ignoble life. For this reason, Jasper was assigned the innocent role of berry picker. It was not just innocence that set berry picking apart from the gay's more wicked undertakings, for it was the only duty performed without the safety of night's concealment. Jasper, no stranger to solitude, did not protest that he alone worked while the others slept soundly, tucked away in the cave at the bottom of Black Bridge Canyon. On one such occasion, Jasper decided to get an early start. He left the cave, berry basket in hand, and set out into the woods before the morning sun had even brushed against the tallest treetops. It was colder in the mornings, but the headway dawn afforded meant Jasper could reach the farthest berry patches without worry of being chastised for tearing upon his return. It took over 3 hours on foot to reach his destination, and along the way, Jasper had passed by many a familiar bush, all priorly pillaged and so bare of berries that one would have to dedicate several moments in earnest examination before finding a single one. Jasper was patient, but even patience has its limits. He was confident that, even accounting for the time lost to this long stretch of travel, his efforts would be well worth the pains. Surveying the patches in the new grove surprised even Jasper. The red dots suspended among the leaves seemed as numerous as stars in the skies. Upon seeing such a bounteous sight, he clutched his berry basket tightly and nearly toppled over out of joy. That makes me question, though, are these berries poisonous? Once he had regained his sense, Jasper quickly made a decision. He would not reveal the location of the newfound treasure. Instead, he would earn the respect of his confederates who, upon seeing his yield, might attribute the success to hard work. Smiling at his plan, Jasper set off to fill his basket and was marking steady strides in this task when the sound of thundering hoofs interrupted him. A carriage is approaching. The thought of it made Jasper freeze. He had been so enchanted by his discovery that he had neglected to observe his surroundings. How could a roadway be so close? He ducked down and crept towards the impending sound, hiding behind one of the larger bushes nearby. It was only a moment more before the sound source revealed itself. Within 50 paces of where Jasper hid, an elegant carriage with gold trim came soaring around a corner of trees, led by 2 beautiful white horses, and conveyed by a stern-looking driver seated atop the vehicle. Flaunting the most sophisticated regula Jasper has ever seen. It was not just any carriage, it was a royal carriage. Even without ever having witnessed such a sight before. Jasper was certain. The sight had so transfixed Jasper that he stood awestruck, unable to tear away as the carriage approached. The little concealment the bush provided was soon proven unequal to the driver's lofty perch, and upon spotting the boy, he pulled the reins with such effort that the noble steeds slid to a sudden halt with precise control. "You boy! Get out from behind that bush!" he shouted with a rigidity that betrayed a minus amount of fear. "You startled me half to death, coming around the bend on my own drive, and me seeing such an unfamiliar face in a place where there's ought to be any face." Jasper quickly contemplated running. The man was much older, and his dress was suitable for courtly behavior, but not dashing through the bramble and mud. I was picking berries." Jasper raised the half-filled basket up to allow the driver to see the proof of his words. The demeanor of the man suddenly changed. It was a change that Jasper was familiar with. He had many times seen the same stern expression on the most fiendish bandits melt away when presented with a berry basket. Any suspicions that the driver might have had instantly evaporated, for even the notion of a member of the unholy hounds picking berries seemed farcical. The softened expression even made allowances for a smile. "Berries, eh? Say, you couldn't have picked a better spot for them, could you? I used to pick berries here as a boy." Jasper took his cue to finally step forward out from behind the bush, proudly brandishing his basket. I knew, and what luck I found them. I have only just begun picking, and look how many I have. It would have taken me fourfold the time back home to produce this number." The driver bent down for a closer look, and "Where's your home, boy? It must be quite far." Jasper replied with a scripted response. "A little south of Tenderfolk, just past the burnt woods." "By God, that is far. You couldn't have came all this way only this morning." It was true. Tenderfolk was in the exact opposite direction that Jasper had traveled, and while that response would seem perfectly reasonable in a location closer to Blackbridge Canyon, he could see why it might seem less believable here. "Sure, I have traveled much farther for much less profit. I dare say there is no distance yet made by man that would not be worth undertaking for a prize such as these. Surely you have tasted them for yourself." Jasper felt happier with this response, as it seemed to amplify the man's smile. In my youth often, but perhaps I took it for granted because I never had to travel very far. And even then, my father would always drive us here in our carriage, so I assumed I never had to walk such a stretch to earn an equal reward." It was Jasper's time to smile. "Then let my efforts reward us both today." He raised the basket even higher. "A taste in memory of your youth, sir?" The driver chuckled and removed one glove, bending over the seat to reach down to the basket, and at the moment his fingers touched the first berry, the dagger in turn met his throat. Uh-oh. Cutting through a superficial layer of skin and drawing blood, Jasper caught the man's startling gaze. "And for that taste I will have your purse, sir, in memory of my youth." The driver's arms had gone stiff, his chin raised and trembling, more frightened than he had ever been before. Whether unable or incapable of speaking, he did not respond to the boy. Perhaps he did not think his jaw could afford to be engaged at the particular time. Jasper let the basket drop, freeing his other hand to probe the man's pockets. Do not mistake me, sir. I will not kill you if you give me no cause. Though I will admit, the thought of taking your carriage and leaving you in leaving you the indignity of walking appeals to me. Unable to find a purse in the man's coat, Jasper pivoted to search the seat under him. Why have you no purse upon your person? The driver slowly raised his hand, courteously pointing towards the carriage door behind him. Jasper lowered the knife edge a small degree to allow the man to speak, which he did and turned softly. There's a lockbox in the carriage. Well, come down, then, and grant me the courtesy of sparking your life and binding your hands a concession I assure you of my tender heart, for it would be much easier to slit your throat. The man started to comply, slowly lowering himself from the driver's seat off the carriage. Once down, Jasper guided him away from the carriage to a nearby tree where he instructed him to get on his knees and put his hands behind his back. Excusing his inexperience, the man indulged Jasper while he figured out how to adequately bind him. The smile and kindness Jasper had seen on the man's face now nothing more than a distant memory. In their place, cold, dark eyes displaying no emotion. I wonder, should I grant you the same clemency you are showing me? Jasper stopped, surprised by the question, but ignored it. Secured the final bindings, and then hastily returned to the carriage with one hand on the door's handle. He turned back to the man. If there is no lockbacks, there will be no clemency. Inside the carriage was surprisingly dusty and unswept, a stark contrast to the elegant and polished golden facade of the exterior. It had apparently been many years since a passenger had enjoyed passage in the vehicle. This all but confirmed what Jasper had suspected. The driver of the carriage was not a liveried servant in the employment. The driver of the carriage was not a liveried servant in the employ of some greater master. Any curiosity that the observation might have further produced was quickly abandoned upon seeing where it rested under the carriage back seat, a large wooden lockbox. Despite its hefty appearance, the box was surprisingly easy to handle. Within a few minutes, Jasper had dislodged it from its hold and carried it out into the sunlight. Inspecting the box carefully, two observations were made. Totemic symbols found carved on all four sides of the box hinted that the box was very old and likely not created by Oriendian hands. It reminded him of artifacts from the old world and was presumably crafted in one of the ancient realms. Secondly, the box was secured by a rusted yet robust padlock and were not opened easily without a key. Jasper looked over to see the driver quietly observing from his injured position. Do you perhaps have a key you can provide me to open the box? Without emotion, the driver replied, there is no key to that box. Jasper stood up. Easy enough then. He handed over to a nearby rock and stabilized dimensions and lifted the stone up, carrying it back to the box. If there was ever a time when the lock had been resistant to brute force, it wasn't recent. With one hit, the stone had completely shattered the rest of the lock. He bent back down and opened the lid. Inside was an effigy, a crude figure scheduled from stone. Without too much deliberation, Jasper bent down and picked it up, somewhat surprised how heavy it seemed, given how light the backs had felt. Having expected to find something more akin to gold or gems, he looked questioningly to the man, hoping to find an explanation. The driver's the driver's smile had once again returned. "You are cursed, boy, for deadly is that stone. You have opened that which shall never have been opened, and you are cursed." Jasper carried the effigy over to the man and shoved it in front of his face. "What is it?" "That's one." Feeling the disappointment rising to anger now, Jasper tightened his grip on the effigy. "One what?" "You mumbled Agentor? And in God's name, why have you no purse upon your person?" The man did not seem intimidated. "One pace." He paused for effect. 12 more and you will be dead." He only had a second to flinch before the effigy struck him in the head and put an end to his cryptic ramblings. There was ever a time when the old man had been resistant to brute force. If there was ever a time when the old man had been resistant to brute force, it wasn't recent. Jasper looked down at the sculpture. This is a long book. Ugh. Jasper looked down at the sculpted stone figure, now splatting red. Was it cursed? Was he cursed? He had, of course, heard stories of curses and had never doubted their validity in the past, but now that he was standing face to face with the possibility of being cursed, his mind pleaded with him to be skeptical. And if he was cursed, what difference would the knowledge make? A dozen more paces would not be enough to find another living soul, to say nothing of the chances of pursuing a remedy. If he did not move from where he is now stood, he could live maybe another 3 or 4 days, maybe more given the ambience of nearby berries. A plan that, if we ignore its obvious faults, might provide additional opportunities for help to come along. But what good would that do? To be discovered here? Besides a body, stolen goods in hand, bloated from berries, and raving about a curse that could very well not be real. No, it would most certainly be better to face one's fate now, take a dozen paces, and see if life goes on. But Jasper found his legs unable to make that first step. His mind was unable to convince his limbs to waste away 1/12 of his life in a single motion. Feeling the desperation sink in, he hopelessly looked about him for a solution. And if, by some stroke of luck, the goods had heard his plea, a miracle materialized before him, as if he found himself suddenly at the end of a fairy tale. 2 white horses and a carriage of golden trim were beside him. The answer to his immediate prayers. He laughed at his fortune and calculated the short number of paces back to the road. 4. Perhaps only 3 if he jumped. He made a quick survey to see if there was anything he wished to grab before taking the plunge. He thought about removing the driver's fancy coat, and that appeared to be of some value, but the additional risk of undertaking such a task too great to chance. And so after a powerful breath, he took his second, third, and fourth steps. Though they were quite large, seated now behind the horses, he reached for the reins and suddenly realized that he was still gripping the effigy. If the curse was real, then it would most certainly be better left here. If, on the other hand, the story was fictitious, there might be some appraisal that could be made of the figure. It was, after all, found within a lockbox whose typical function offers security objects of value. Having witnessed firsthand the horrors of destitution, Jasper found his mind equally reluctant to allow his hand to let go. If it is cursed, I die. If not today, then tomorrow. And if I die, what care have I? And with that statement said aloud, Jasper took up the reins with confidence. Miller woke to some light nudging from a familiar foot. Only one person would have the cheek to awaken her in such ill-mannered fashion. Shaking the sleep from her eyes, she glared up at him in the darkness, but did not say a word. He nudged her again, teasingly, then stepped back into the dim. After taking a moment for her eyes to adjust to the darkness of the cave, Miller remembered she was on third watch today. Quietly collecting her things and wit, Miller turned as she left, waving to her young friend, who was more than likely already asleep. She crept through the cavern's main passage, careful to not wake the sleeping bandits around her. Like a hero in a book, she often mused quietly. She grabbed a bow from the haphazardly formed pile of weapons, shaking the accompanying quiver in the darkness to assess how many arrows it held. She then walked towards the sun-drenched mouth of the cavern, ready to start her shift. Above her, in one of the few trees found in the canyon, Miller could see that the Ravia was already posted. She waved, and Revia waved back. Calling out to each other was strictly forbidden. Anything louder than a gesture in the canyon was forbidden. When Miller reached the tree, Ravia lowered a braided rope and pointed to the ground behind. Miller turned, following the finger, and saw a pile of water resting beside. Miller turned, following the finger, and saw a pail of water resting beside a nearby log. She turned back to Ravia, nodded, and secured the pail to the rope. The pail went up first, and in turn, Miller followed. Ravia reached across to grab the water. Miller leaned back to give her space. There was not much room for maneuvering in this tree post, a necessary concession for the concealment the outpost demanded. Ravia tilted the pail up to her mouth dramatically, illustrating how thirsty she had been. Miller laughed silently as water poured out, splashing onto Ravia's face. It was a bit too daring and noisy of a joke. Had the others been around, they would have certainly been scolded for the unwarranted sound. But Miller appreciated the efforts Ravia took to verbalize the silence of the morning. They had been on third watch together for over a month, and during that speechless time, their friendship had grown into something special. Affection was unsurprisingly scarce among the unholy hounds. She had felt camaraderie before, of course, but intimacy never. From their elevated vantage, the girls could see both the concealed entrance of the cavern as well as a clear view of the bridge that spanned across the canyon. Black Bridge was the link between the Gentry lands and the northern mountains, the overpass that connected Oris and Reddington. To the city-faring travelers of the realm, The bridge was an unavoidable crossing. In the day, the task was to ensure the travelers passed by without stopping. At night, the task was to ensure that they do. Like most of the band, Miller preferred the night. The biting glare of the sun made it might be tolerable to farmhands and bricklayers, but to a cavern house bandit, it was a source for a constant annoyance. In the day, there was no shroud to conceal her expressions, nor to hide her thoughts. She felt exposed. Ravia touched her elbow and pointed up. Miller, striving to suppress a budding smile, subtly shook her head in response. There were many signs that the unholy hounds used to lieu of wood, but the two of them had developed an extended vocabulary, gestures quietly forged in the shared solitude of their mouth among the branches. She watched as Ravia shifted, placing her palms flat on the floorboards beneath them. Marilla knew what she was trying to say, but shook her head a second time. It was often more fun to pretend not to understand. Rivia rolled her eyes and turned away, looking back to the canyon. Squinting through the leaves, the two girls held still, watching and listening. It was not long until Milla, too, heard the sounds of approach. Rivia held up two bent fingers, and a few moments later, two men emerged from the bridge's southern end. They were dressed in a familiar uniform, long gray coats with black facings, white waistcoats, and black tricorn hats. They belonged to the local patrol, the Blackguard. Although not an everyday occurrence, their presence at Black Bridge wasn't an unusual sight. It typically indicated an important traveler's impeding passage across the bridge. Information that the girls would promptly relay to the leaders as soon as the coast was clear, but this report, while exciting, was rarely acted upon. In Miller's 5 years in the Unholy Hounds, she had never once seen a carriage taken in open daylight with when the black guards were nearby. The men had nearly reached the bridge's north end when Miller heard the horses faintly at first, but growing louder with each passing moment. Ravi's eyes met Miller's, the same concern mirrored in each other's expression. This did not sound like the typical carriage, cautiously approaching the bridge to cross. Instead of the familiar crunch of the high road's gravel, they heard the harsh cluttering of hoofbeats against stone. Both cars quickly redirected their attention downwards, looking through the foliage. The sounds were not coming from the high road, but from the canyon itself. The horse was coming from below the bridge. In an instant, Miller had knocked an arrow and drawn her bow. Go! Revia was gone before the whisper had even left Miller's mouth. The young scout was already sliding down the bank below, racing towards the cave. There was no road that ran below the canyon. There was no reason for numerous horses to be approaching the cave. There was only one reasonable conclusion, and both girls had reached it instantly. The base has been compromised. This was a blackguard attack. The moment the horse came into view, Miller let loose her first arrow. She was surprised to see a carriage and had expected cavalry before she even finished processing that through her second arrow was in the air. Without a trail, it would be unthinkable for a carriage to traverse such rough terrain. Yet she watched as the wheels jolted over the rocky riverbed. A third arrow was now in flight, and there would be no need for a fourth. The driver slumped over just moments before the vehicle dipped into a small ditch, slamming into an embankment. The force of this sudden halt immediately shattered the front two wheels and catapulted the driver from his seat. Utterly confused now, Miller quickly glanced over her shoulders to see if any horses were also approaching from the rear. Down in the canyon, the entire herd of the unholy hounds came spilling forth from the earth as if hell itself had suddenly sprung open. The group seemed even more bewildered that Miller, half asleep and tripping over one another in a desperate attempt to engage an unseen enemy in combat. Miller could see Rivia among their numbers, the only one looking up at her. Her expression was chilling. There would be no need for a silent gesture to convey what they both now realized: they had made a mistake. The Gaines chieftain Geoffrey Heartslasher led the others, cautiously approaching the crashed carriage that could surprise suspicious facts would near a baited trap. There were no words exchanged as the group crept forward in customary silence. A dozen or so paces in front of the wreck lay their far-flung driver, an arrow protruding from his broken body, and beside him a blood-stained effigy carved from stone. Miller was inconsolable. Jasper had always been his favorite. He had always shadowed her in the night, clinging to the arms of her every move, the way a child trails behind an older sibling. Tender-hearted, she had always called him, though deep down she had known that wasn't quite true. His appearance of gentleness concealed a raw, excellent durability that emerged in the most perilous of situations. He had been a flower among the nettles of the cave, but he still had thorns, honed by a grim past and 100 hands of mixed fortune. They buried him in the darkest in the back of one of the lodge's cavern rooms. He was intruded with a berry basket and a silk handkerchief that he had treasured. The mysterious effigy they had found beside him served as a distinguished gravestone, a marker that stood out as somewhat special among the rows of similar swords making neighboring plats. No one spoke, not even in whispers. There was nothing to say. Miller woke the next day to a thunderous shaking and rattling of the earth, a far cry from the playful nudging of the previous day. She strained to adjust her eyes, but the choking sting of stirred up dust caused her to flinch. Panic was also in the air. The sounds of scurried footsteps and clustering feet filled the space around her. But even in alarm, the silence was louder. What was it that sounded so strange? Milla closed her eyes tight and used her feet to guide her along the passage. The whispers around her were getting louder, and intense voices could be heard. Ahead, louder speech than she had ever heard spoken in the canyon. A growing dread grew in Milla's approach, the mouth of the cave, her eyes now opened wide despite the dust. Shouldn't it be day? Milla felt a hand in the darkness pulling at her. It was Ravia. The two embraced, and Milla did not need to see her to understand. Ravia placed two bent fingers against Milla's cheek. And with that touch against her face, Milla felt the same sinking feeling from the previous day. Two bent fingers confirmed what Milla had suspected. The girls had forgotten to relay one critical piece of information to the others. An hour or so later, the screams began. Blood-curdling cries of hopeless desperation. Captain Floyd Lee of the Black Card lacked down from the ridge of the canyon to the collapsed entrance of the cave. Ah, he grinned. Now they speak. What a shitty thing to do. I was not expecting to end it in that way. Oh boy. Anywho. Back to today, shall we? Conference room. That's kind of early. Also, I'll just take the gems now. Oh, and we got a coupon book. How lovely. Drawing room? I'll take a drawing room. Here's a really good spot for the drawing room, and especially after using the tunnels. Silly tunnels. Ooh. Classic is kind of nice here, actually. You know, it's never big items, always the small ones. The garage leads to a dead end and a closer of the day. Veranda, on the other hand. Sure, we'll take that. I take the garage. We did find what we needed, though. Yeah, 4 keys. Observatory. Sure. We're at 48, so 2 more of these, and then we'll be able to use the special room again. Use stars to reroll. See if we can find a clock tower. See if we can find the clock tower. The office. Rumpus room. Apparently there's a key somewhere. Or something more. So this side. Ah, there it is, underneath the TV. I could take the ballroom, but then I would have to come back. Because I'm not going through it. I'm not losing 7 gems. Or I can just take some keys. Which I'd rather have the path forward. I really want to find that clock tower. Corridor is, at least it's guaranteed to be unlocked. Dining room is perfect. Grab key on the ground. Grab the lunchbox. We found the vault. But we don't have the vault key. That said, all of these are basically dead ends. I guess we grab the vault. Maybe we get lucky with the vault key. Or maybe we did find the single key. I don't remember. I should have took notes sooner. But now I have to either get up there to the ballroom, which I have significantly less gems. So maybe I can use some gems here. Oh yeah. Okay, I'm gonna grab the cloister. Time to go back to the ballroom. No. And we're not trying to do a classroom thing, are we? No. No. That's not the room we grabbed. Grab the jewel shop. This is grade 1. Weird. Also makes sense. Alright. The boiler room. I could have done a bunch of rerolls. Oh, that might have been a missed opportunity. Casino. Oh, but if only I went back through the ballroom, I would be able to buy the casino right now. That is unfortunate. Oh, there's a key in here too. Is there something in here? Magnifying glass? I guess it was the magnifying glass. We have 100 coins now. The armory. The storeroom. Yeah, that would buy me the gem I need. Okay. Did we buy the casino? No, we didn't purchase the casino. Okay, what are we trying to do? We don't even have the garage. The car keys is useless, and we have no way to get the garage now. Found the foyer, which actually isn't that bad. Here, go back and get my gem. Just spent a coin and 2 steps for 0 reason. I guess it is what it is. Sure. Pool room? No gems. Okay. Does the music room need gems? The music room might need gems. Either way, I'm gonna go and refresh my gems. Maybe find the music room. We have a couple dice. Increases the odds to find the music room. Alright, music room. Music room. I'll take the casino. Let's see if we can get anything special on this big roll. I roll up. Double the money. Cool. I don't know what to do with that. But I did it. Now I'm blocked. We got the office. Just need gems. I forgot to refresh my gems. This is fine, I guess. I guess I need to take a dead end, and we need to go the other direction. Make my way back to the cloister. This room doesn't matter much. We do have the nursery, so this will give me more steps. This is locked. We got the gymnasium. Alright. Do I have any spot to actually spend these gems at? Of course, it's both locked. Does the commissary have a key? Oh, this is why my steps are low. I haven't eaten dinner yet. I felt a little light. Don't think it's gonna matter much though. There's no... There's sledgehammer in here though? Okay. Also we have something. Was it just a coupon book? Something popped up in my vision and I don't know what it was. Do we don't have the laundry room. If I could turn all of that into keys. Way too many keys. So many keys. Oh, we do have a treasure map. We don't have a shovel. 1, 2, 3. It is in this room. We don't have a shovel though. Alright, I guess we're done here. Alright, I guess we're done here. Unfortunately. To the outside. Away. Ah, this is the skill house. This is skill house day. That's exciting. Now that we have the ninth classroom, the ninth classroom. Don't forget to put a gem in the fountain, but I've got to pick my allowance. That's okay. We're gonna start with some classrooms. Going to the fountain for good luck. Alright, classrooms. Number one goal is classrooms. Number one goal is classrooms. There's one. And a hall pass. Ooh. What does that do again? Always drafted from an adjoining hallway do not cost coins. Interesting. Not coins, but gems. Do we take our second classroom already? It feels a little cramped, but sure. Let's take a reroll. I need to go up, which this classroom does. Ooh, that was lucky. And I've already been on all these classrooms, so that's... I feel comfortable with bypassing the things in the room. I'm tempted to take the gem. Actually, no. Yeah, we need the gem. Because the classrooms cost a gem. You gotta keep that in mind. There's another classroom here. That goes down. I guess we take the chapel. Because I don't want the dead end. Even the storeroom would be nice, but I don't want the dead end. Okay. Ooh. Alright, maybe I get lucky and like get... Oh wait, why did I spend a gem? That was kind of dumb. Well, despite that, I got a bunch of cool stuff. Library corridor. Let's just go corridor. Maybe we can get lucky with another classroom here. Break room. I'll go with some steps. Adds the morning room. Gives me a key. I can use the key on the chest if I wanted to. I'm not going to. There's normally not a chest in that room, though. Where does this go? Library? Sure. Ooh, a key. I think I need to request any more books. Bookshop. Oh, no, we need the classroom. And we need to find more gems now. That's number 4. Never seen a lacked classroom before. Thankful we can redraw. This would have been ugly. Dining room, morning room, gems. We need this. We need this for classrooms. There's another trunk. Let's go back down here. I'm afraid that I will run out of whatchamacallit, keys. Plus I have some apples to eat. Salted apples. Yummy. Okay, going up through here. Found a patio. I'll just take that spare room. This would be a couple more gems. No item in here. Classroom. Gotta take the classroom. Grade 5. Grab the apple. Going through. A drawing plan would be decent, but only if the door pointed up. Courtyard takes a gem. The bedroom wouldn't be that bad. I think we can do better. The armory next to classroom. Weapons and armor for sale. Okay, there's a classroom. Oh, we need more gems. Oh wow, there's dice on the table. Okay, I'm not complaining. Now I need gems. This is where things might get a little problematic. I could take the single gem. We are at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I would have enough gems for number 7. Let's just... We have rerolls. We have rerolls. We need a room with multiple doors. That doesn't require a gem. This gives me gems. Oh, but we need to get the puzzle correct. Okay, this is huge. The gems are in a box that is actually blue. The gems are in a box with the word blue on it. Okay. I feel like one of these two have to be false. And for that to happen, it needs to be in here. No. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. The only other clue I have is that it is in this box. Oh wait, that's that. Alright. Okay, it isn't in this box. It has to be in this box. Okay. Not going crazy. Bedroom going up. I wouldn't mind a classroom here. Although it does point in a weird direction. I guess beggars can't be choosers, right? The only problem is if I find another classroom, will it be pointing up? I guess I'll take that risk. We got one gem left. Dining room. Can't take the clock tower. I guess redrawing is fine. Boiler room. Need something with gems. But at the same time, I don't think I can get something that has gems and also a door. Ew. Uh-oh. Did I get greedy here? I think I might have got greedy here. Okay. Audio doesn't do anything. Workshop doesn't do anything. Security costumes. Okay. I think I just have to take this. Either that or rotate the maid's chambers. What does this do? Whenever you draw... Alright. You may rotate and stuff. Okay. Drawing room takes a gem. Which I need the gems. 2, 5, 6, 7. We're 2 away. We are 2 away. There's a classroom. I am 1 away, but also need a gem. This is easy. 1 away, but I also need a gem. I am missing a gem. The storeroom would be perfect. But I don't have really any ways to get new rooms. There's that last classroom. Oh my gosh. Okay, I guess we take the dining room. Really, really, really hope for like a miracle. Praying for a miracle. The attic is a dead end. Oh my gosh. We're at a dead end. Can't do this. Unless we somehow get it at the hallway. Which also needs to be unlocked. We do get a key here though. And we do get a metal detector. Randomly. Okay. Kind of useless now though. We do have dice. I feel like there was more trunks around. Was there a trunk in the parlor? I feel like there was another trunk somewhere. Was it in the library? Oh, maybe it was in the breakfast nook. There it is. 2 more keys. Blah. Well, maybe we can get lucky. Classroom. We don't have any gems for that to matter. So my only hope was to actually get this from up here. Kicks and giggles. There. Wow. Alright. Rip. We will start the day off tomorrow with extra gems. So if he can pull the classroom again, we have a better shot at doing this. And no classroom. So the question is, I guess we try to find the clock tower? Get the rest of the sanctum keys going? There's also 2 more letters? Maybe 3? I still haven't found yet. I'm gonna wait to pick up the allowance until I absolutely need to. But we're looking for the clock tower. Or the observatory to get to the 50 stars again. Because if we can get to the 50 stars, I think that would make the classroom easy. Easy to, like, draft all 9 that you need. I just made that completely a dead end. Oops. I was not thinking that through. But that makes this room very good here. So that's okay. Pantry goes up. We have salvaged my error. That's okay. That makes this actually pretty decent. Courtyard. Yeah, that's okay. Ooh, we get metal detector. And then we have dig spats, but that's not gonna do anything for me. Parlor doesn't do anything. I don't think I want to dead end myself here. So we'll half use the hallway, I guess. Apparently there's something in here. What could it be? Why am I so blind? Show yourself. I don't see it. Maybe I'm blind. Oh, there's a coin. Okay, garage will also dead end myself. So let's go through the spare room. Find a watering can. Get me some gems. Use a key. Maybe find the clock tower. Gonna go through the chapel, begrudgingly. Oh. Wait, is that why there's sometimes gems here? When you get sheltered? Very weird. Well, we will definitely go through the observatory now. One more day of going through here. And we will get the special reward. There'll be 2 trunks in the entrance hall. Take note of. Ooh, the cloister. Okay, let's go back. Start with the other side. Get the watering can going. Get some gems. Alright. Vistable? Sure, why not? Ew, that's ugly. I'll get the nursery, I guess. Alright, I don't mind the breakfast nook. Get a key. Some food. Okay. I need this door to be unlocked. I need this door to be unlocked. Perfect. Back to the entrance hall. Get some dice. We're looking for the clock tower. Oh wait, there's a safe in here. Oh, there's no way I can go up? I guess there's a breakfast nook over there. I would like to start with the gems tomorrow. Too bad those extra gems couldn't have been there yesterday. Hold on. If my theory is correct, this is telling me there's items behind this door. The metal detector is. I got my key back. What about this door? No key, but we did get a gem. And the lever. This may or may not be relevant. What about now? Also select. Did I miss anything here? No. Okay, try again. Still locked. I need to get to the breakfast nook. There we go. Passageway? Sure. I need a couple doors. We need the clock tower. We need the clock tower. Had a chance of finding the clock tower. Or the greenhouse. Clock tower. Black tower. Black tower. So much math. Okay. I guess I'm not getting the keys today. Going to the cloister. Actually, I didn't even check the rotunda. Of course it's locked. We really need to solve that. We really need to solve that. Okay, so we have 10, but small line 10, which I have no idea what that means. Besides, sometimes it makes it a third of the number, but 10 into a third isn't a whole number. 10 times 3 is 30. But am I supposed to take... Oh, no, okay. 10 times 9 is 90. What's the number that divides into 11? That's like by 90. 99, 88, 8 or 9? Okay, hold on. Ten times 3 is 30. Maybe it's 101. No. Maybe it's 99. Oh, okay. I can kind of see how I get 99. 10 times 9 is 90. Wait. How did I get that again? I think it might be 9. It is 9. Okay. $18 plus 9, 27. 27 divided by 3 is 9. Square root of 9 is 81. Minus 1 is 80. 60. 60 divided by 10 is 6. Alright, we did it. Despite my disbelief, we managed to pull it through. So do I want to open the door at the cloister or this? And since it is a special key, I kind of want to go to the cloister. I will go to the cloister. Means I have to make my way through this stupid room. Alright, it is locked. I do not have a key. So it's waste of steps until I can get this door unlocked. There we go. And then I need to go this way. To the cloister. That needs a key card. It has to be this door, which is unlocked. Go to the pool. No sledgehammer. That needs a key card. Tunnel, I guess, yeah. I do not have a shovel. Special key. Finds the dining room. Grabs the lunch box. Go back and put the doggies. Because the good boys need pets. Of course it's locked. Alright. I think I'm done here. Oh no, I got rooms down there. I have connected this room to this room. Does that need a key? Probably needs a key. My luck is needs a key. Yeah. What about the cloister? Ooh. No, it's easier for me to just backtrack. Could buy a key here. Any keys for sale? Keys for sale. Could buy one. Emergency button. Wait. Is that a shovel? That might have been better than buying the key. Wouldn't that been funny? Oh well. We have a key. And we're done. These two both need security doors. That's funny. This is locked. Yep, and this is locked. Alright, let's see if we can get the classrooms tomorrow.